Hello, everyone, and welcome to my very first live podcast. This is my green screen. Welcome to that 80s child, the Generation Y, and my name is Gabrielle. I figured I'd give this a try. I don't mind doing lives. I wanted to have a really cool background and stuff, hence the green screen. But because my desk is downstairs, it's going to be a little difficult because I have my closet that's right there. So until I can figure stuff out, I was going to have cool things popping up over here, but cut me a break. I got stuff to do. So this is what you get. All right, so this episode we're talking about teenage angst and the diary episode. So we all were teenagers once, and if anybody's watching this that isn't a teenager, then stop watching. Spoiler alert. And I'm sure we all had a form of a diary or a journal. I never really liked the word diary. But, yeah. So we have, when we were in grade school, we had our ups and downs, I'm sure. And we were all going through puberty between, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So we were having a lot of stuff that was going on. And if you listen to any of my other podcasts, I go extensively into music and bullies, and I was highly bullied in school. This is the reason why lives aren't the greatest thing in the world, because I can't edit it. But I never really had a way of, or I never thought I had a way of kind of getting all of that negativity and things that were happening to me out in some way. I never really acted out aggressively. I was pretty tame as a teenager, to be honest. But when I did get into high school, I started to write when I was 13. So when I got into high school, there was a lot of emotional things that were going on. Between me not feeling like a person that could be in a relationship that would understand that home life, even though my home life was all right. If you hear my dogs, my apologies. It's just the way it is. I can't control every single thing from them. But So there was a lot of angstiness going on in that, but it wasn't an issue when it came to I wasn't, getting into trouble. I wasn't getting arrested or anything like that. I wasn't doing drugs. I know that has happened and continues to happen. So I turned to music and I turned to writing. So that's where your diary or journal, and it says journal, okay, so we're going to go with journal, but I put diary on there. And also poetry, I did. So if you read any of my blogs, I talk extensively about poetry and how that helped me a lot to get through certain ideas of what was meant to be, what I was supposed to be at the time. So I went to a Catholic school. There was a small selection of a handful of kids that you didn't really have the largest selection. So if you didn't fit into a very small niche, then you kind of were out to, I don't know, to pasture, I guess. You were on your own. And you made your own stuff. So when I needed to write it down because I really didn't have, I had friends, but I didn't have, really close friends in high school that to the point where I felt I could talk to them. I talked to my mom a lot. She helped me a lot with figuring out, where my thoughts were coming from, where, that you didn't really have. Sorry, I'm just making sure you can hear me. So I just it's sad now because I don't really have my mom now because I'm, even though I'm 40 years old, I still have emotional things that I deal with on a regular basis, and it would be nice to kind of like associate, talk to her about it, but, it's kind of hard now. So, I didn't really have like somebody my own age to discuss this with. So, I went to journaling. I don't know. This is like a green writing. There we go. So this is March 6th, 1999. If you can't see it, because you might be listening, because I will just be uploading the audio to my website and all the other podcast areas. I just showed you like a journal entry from March 6th, 1999. It was in green writing. It was hard to see. But anyway, I had a tendency to be, I want it to be deep. I want it to be creative. And I want it to kind of make it to the point where if somebody was reading this that wasn't me, they would be like, what is she talking about? And it's true, because I even read it and I'm like, what am I trying to say here? So it was a couple of days after my birthday, and I was given this journal by my half brother and the family, so which was very nice, and obviously I used it. And I'll just give you a little blurb. I'm not going to go into every single thing in here, but just nostalgia is like how we viewed that life at the time. So in 1999, for me, I was going through a point where I had lost a lot of weight and I was feeling a little bit better about myself, but my self-esteem was still very low. And there weren't, the people who I was going to school with were the people I went to school with for decades at that point. And even the people who were new for high school at the time were just, like I said, it was a slim pickings. But regardless, none of them actually showed any interest in me. So I just was like, well, I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life. Here we go. So in this, it says, another year older, Sweet 16, they had it properly named. I often wonder why they call it Sweet 16. And I was exploring, I've always liked psychology and psychological things and, understanding why people do what they do. And it was a lot to do with, why did I feel the way I felt? Why did I act the way I acted? And at the time, we did have the internet so you could research it, but it wasn't as expansive or as fast as it is now. So, and I've also, and now I have a minor in psychology, so it's just I always enjoyed it. So in my writing, I always explored those questions that I would always ask, but in this, I felt it was satire-y, but it's just now most girls are no longer here. I don't know what I'm allowed to say on YouTube, so I'm not going to, or have offed themselves, have a kid already or in psychiatric help. Sometimes I look at myself in the mirror and wonder if any of these things pertain to me, which, I didn't have a kid at that time, so obviously that one wasn't on there, and I was still alive, so that didn't pertain to me. But like I said, I was weird, okay? So maybe it was because I was weird I didn't have any friends. So, or I made myself weird because I'm like, you know what? Screw the rest of you. I'm going to be me. And if you don't like who that is, then so be it. You already don't like me, so I'll give you reasons not to like me. I think that's kind of where my headspace was at the time. And, so yeah, it's like I have so many people telling me I look great and raising my spirits. How could I go and disappoint them? So that's when I was losing a lot of weight. I was always on the heftier side in school, and I wasn't obese. I just was not a stick figure. Like a lot of the girls that I went to school were, I had more meat on my bones. But you know what? I kind of wish I was that weight now. So, but I had starved myself, and I was kind of, exercising with my mom, like going out and walking, and she had like tons of different, exercise equipment, you know, from like the 1980s height of like in-home exercising. So I pretty much was working with that, and like the ski machine, the rowing machine. What was the other one? It was this like weird. We had a bike for a little while. We had a manual treadmill, so it wasn't electronic. Like you had to like walk and make it to go. No, there was like this other thing that I can't remember what it was called, but I would use that too. And the stair climber, that was the other thing. So I did a lot of stuff with my mom, who was in Weight Watchers, in and out of Weight Watchers and stuff like that, and also just not eating, which was not a good way of doing it. So, but I was getting attention from people and saying like, you look awesome, you know, and the people that were my friends, you know, you should, you work it and all that, whatever the heck I don't know. But, so I was feeling a little bit better about myself, and I was talking to somebody, and I was fairly naive when it came to, relationships and stuff like that because I didn't really think of it, because like I said, I was bullied so horribly. I never really thought of myself other than just like this passing thing that sat in the same room as these people, but not to be looked at in any other way than just like a wallflower, just scenery. So I never really explored that or even tried. And then there were a couple of people I talked to, but it really didn't come out to anything, you know, at least for in school. So, and then some of the stuff that you write about, and I don't know if you guys, for when you were in like school, I know that everybody would be writing notes to each other, passing notes, which now you have text messaging, so much easier, about relationships or like who's talking to who wants to hang out. And you either had to deal with the school, your parents, or your partner, whoever you were with, their parents, and like everything just seemed unfair. Like you were fighting against something. It was authority of some sort, or just wanting to just buck the system. And I don't know if it's just because of the way my parents raised me, and I'm not saying that they did it any better than anybody else. It was just maybe perhaps just, my dad was very old school because he was a lot older, and, we got hit, and we were made to be afraid of him in a sense of like, you better stay in order or that's it, you're out. And, I am not paying attention to chat, so not that anybody's listening, but I think this is okay. Okay, so anyway, but I never really wanted to be out doing anything. I was a homebody. I liked to stay home. So all of my angst came from being kind of like alone. And not kind of, I was. All I had was my little brother, and then I had my mom, and I had my dad. And that was it. And like I did have friends, but I didn't hang out. I didn't go to parties. I didn't date. And it was just like, meh, So all that angsty bit was just like all this pent up emotion of like wanting to do these things, but at the same time not wanting to, because it was just not me to do it. And then getting jealous of the girls who were having like relationships, and just people that I just felt, all right, you want somebody to care about you, but I swear when I would see these people together, I swear it was just for like face value. It was just for show. It was just a show. It's like, oh, they're together, everybody, and it's just like, it is literally like one of those teen movies, and I swear I lived one of them. And I'm just sitting there like, is this really happening? Like, do I have to start throwing flowers or something and laying things down for you as you walk and parade yourself by? So I wasn't better. But, so yeah, I used my journaling. I used my poetry, which I have. I'm reticent to show this book because my son, when he was little, really liked to eat cardboard and stuff, and this was one of them. So if you can see it, it's like the edges are like eaten off of this. But this was my book number 2. I don't know where the book number 1 is, but I have like, just to give you some titles. Actually, I'll go from here because these were the originals. I've recopied them all down. And in this binder, this beautiful binder, has all of my original poems, which for my, oh my god, my hair, I want it to be like looking kind of semi-okay, and I should have just been like, are you comfortable? Anyway, I wanted to do something on my blog that had to do with like showcasing some of my original poems, but that's not where I'm going to do it now. But just to give you titles of them, Dreams, you can get a gist of where I was going. Sadness, The Sold Soul, The Picture, Locked, Shut In, so I mean, come on. The World, Look No Further, Waiting, Mentally Not Here, Within This Mind, The Beginning, Nothing Lasts Forever, Silent Cry, Caged, My Haven. So just to give you like an idea, Rose-Colored Glasses, Escape. So you can tell where I was coming from just by that. And the journals echo that. And it was not so much of like the angsty bit of like, I just want to go out and party. I just want to be able to drink, or I want to do things without authority. Your typical angsty bit. My angst was, and I'm saying that there are other people that are out there. I'm not one special. But it was that I felt isolated, and that not just where I was, but I was isolated in the sense of not having anybody around at school or outside of school, because people who went to school, they had friends from other schools. And I often wondered, like, in my naive brain was just like, how did they know? How did they find them? Like, it was in the neighborhood. They went out and, I lived on a farm, and there was few and far between people, but there were kids around. And I did talk to, like, my cross-the-street neighbors, but they so happened to go to the same school as me, different grades. Other than that, it was really not anybody else. And I didn't go further than my property line. So it was just like the people who went to the school. All right, so I went to St. Joe's in Hamilton. And then there was like, I lived in Nesco area right outside of Hamilton. And they had Mullica Township School. I didn't talk to anybody from there. Or I didn't talk to anybody from Oakcrest. Which usually Mullica would go to Oakcrest. I don't know. But I didn't talk to those people. I didn't know who these people were until my brother went to that school afterwards. And it was just like, they live here? They had kids? So I was a shy person. And talking to new people is difficult even now for me. But I'm a lot better with it because there's a facade that I think each of us puts up, almost like an armor. Or I'll give you all of these scenarios. It's either armor, a facade, or a mask, or something like that we put on for certain situations. So like when you're home, you're you for the most part, unless you can't be you at home, which I'm sorry if you have to deal with that. kind of know. When you're at work, you're a different, you're kind of different when it comes to like talking to your coworkers, talking to a friend coworker, talking to your boss or higher ups and things like that. So like it's just that way. But when I was younger, I didn't want to talk to anybody. Like, no one, don't talk to me. I don't know who you are. Stranger danger, So I wasn't like going out and looking for other people to share things with. And it was just me. So when we got the internet back in 96, now granted, in 96 it was dial-up, yes. And it was slow dial-up, and the internet was not brand spanking new, but it was new for like in homes and things like that. So it would take forever for something to load. So it was a novelty. And when they did eventually, like when you had AOL and you had Instant Messenger and you had all the chat rooms and stuff like that, that's where I talked to people. I talked to people in other countries, which I thought was awesome. But dangerous if you think about it now, because at that time it was just like, yeah, sky's the limit, talk to whoever. But again, stranger danger. There were pervs out there. There still are pervs out there. And I did run into people that were like that. I had a person who like found out where I lived, and I had to be like, block this like I had to figure out how to, like, whatever I was able to do at the time. And I opened myself up to a lot of weird stuff, but I was able to be somebody else, because everybody that I talked to in school had known me majority of my life. So whatever preconceived notion they had of who I was, and whatever bullying had happened or whatever was being made fun of me at the time was just, it clouded to find out anything more about me. So I really couldn't get beyond that stone barrier that they gave me as a persona. So I just was like, well, fine, I'm done with you. I'll go online and I'll find somebody in Turkey, which I did. I actually talked to somebody in Turkey. Very nice guy. But I don't know what happened to him. So I talked to like people, and the ones that weren't weirdos, which were few and far between, unfortunately, because, I swear to God, it just flocked the weirdos, or I just happened to find them. I don't know. But the ones that I found that were legitimate people who were just trying to be like, hey, what's it like over there or whatever, I, had some really awesome conversations with, and I liked that. I thought that was great. I didn't have to meet them in person. I was behind a screen, and I felt safe to me, and I didn't have to be like, I could be me, but I also could be like a little bit more assertive me, rather than the shy individual that was awkward and really couldn't get beyond that. And, they didn't know anything about me, so I could, not that I'm saying I lied. I didn't lie about who I was. It was just more of like who I wanted to be in real life, IRL. So, but I still felt like when I got off and I shut my computer off, I was alone again. There was nobody around. It was just my mom. It was just my brother. And then when my dad passed away at my senior year of high school, it was just like a downward spiral, because I just didn't have any type of foundation. I didn't have anybody to like fall back on to be like, what do I do? Especially like, if my mom was my confidant and she just lost her husband, regardless of whatever the relationship may or may not have been, and it, at that time it was all right. She wasn't going to be like, I had to be there to support her. So there was really no one to support me. And then my brother also got a really short end of that stick, because he was 11 and, never really had anybody to really, I tried, but I'm his sister. So there's no, who wants to listen to their older sister or older sibling, whatever. But I digress. So I was an angsty teen. There was a lot of emotional issues there that I still, to this day, am working out and trying to figure what the heck I'm supposed to be doing in this life. Emotionally speaking, like, I think a lot of us have we grow as well, I would hope we all grow, but I know people who don't and just are stuck, good, bad, or otherwise. But we all, are searching to be calm, confident individuals that, we have a vision for ourselves, and sometimes we mold ourselves in a way that we can, be like, you know what, I'm cool with this. And then there's sometimes it takes a long time. And I know that the way I handled it was I wrote it down. And that is why when I moved from the farm that I was there for almost 30 years, which was only 5 years ago, I moved away from there. It was devastating to me. And everything that I kind of knew and felt comfortable with, regardless of the state that house was in by the time we left, because it was falling apart because we could not afford to keep up with it. Everything I knew in that bubble just popped and everything came crashing down. So it was a very, very, very tumultuous couple of years. I feel a lot better now. I'm back in the swing with everything. That's why I started up the podcast. I started my blog and everything else, because I'm like, you know what? I've got a lot of stuff inside. Doesn't matter what roof I have over my head, just as long as I have a roof over my head. But I can do this. And writing, as it always has been at the center of it. So how is this nostalgic? It's nostalgic for me. So I can, if you have the same situation that you might have lived, then I hope to, have that connection. Otherwise, at least, all right, so I remember, I was, that's why I brought in the computer, so that's nostalgic, AOL, Instant Messenger, all that stuff. Just trying to, we all used it, and we used it for different things. And for me, it was just that outlet to get away from what I was stuck in. And I was stuck at that place for a very long time. And maybe it was for the better of me and the rest of us that, my family, my son, and, that we left, because it was like quicksand. It got you, and then you got stuck there. And as much as I didn't want to leave, because it was a beautiful place if we could afford to fix everything, and a lot of space, which I miss the space. I can look out my window right over there, and I'm looking in somebody's kitchen. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I don't know how you people do this. I don't know how people do this. The people who live there, how do you do this? I can't. Yeah. So, I don't know how long have I been on here? I don't know how long I've been on here. It says 56 minutes, but I made sure that I had this up. I had my OBS up. I had my green screen up. I was prepared. Made sure I put Mom to bed, and it was like, I'm actually doing pretty good. I started on time. So I already have my next podcast recorded, because I'm trying to pre-record them so that, because what happened the last time with the second season was that I was recording them as the week that I was supposed to have them out. I was recording them a day or two before, editing them, making sure everything was okay, putting it up, having the cover, an explanation, a little description, a little blip, and I was doing all of that, and I was getting burnt out by it, and the end of the year, because I'm gonna when this season ends, I'm gonna do another season come October, I want to say. Let's see, about October, so that it'll end with the end of the year. But I will warn you that this time of year, I don't get sad, quote unquote, as in the seasonal disorder, whatever that is. that I'm not sad because it's like dark out in winter. I love the winter. It's my favorite time of year. Fall, winter, love it. It's just that I get a little, so I guess maybe I do get sad, but it's not to do with the light and stuff. It's just because my dad passed away right after Thanksgiving. I have not been able to recreate a Christmas from the 1980s, 1990s, and I'm very sad about that, okay? So, I have to, like, make sure that I'm doing what I'm doing now with, like, pre-recording stuff so that I'm not, pushing it on me when I'm not in the mood, because then you can hear it. I think that was one of the ones I had recorded, and you could hear, I'm like, and here we are talking about the 90s, and it's just like, nobody wants to hear that. Have some enthusiasm to what you're talking about. Like, if you don't have that passion of what you're talking about, people will know. So, if you don't feel it, don't do it. So I didn't. But, yeah, so teenage angst, there's a reason for it. It's definitely, you're exploring your emotions. And it doesn't matter when you are going through this. Now, in the 90s, maybe it was, we want to say, we had the best time. And yes, maybe we did. I don't know. Maybe for you, it might have been better. I didn't have the greatest teenage years. But I do still look at it fondly. I still find it to be nostalgic and in a good way, because I remember bad things. But I remember a lot of good things that I enjoy and I take pleasure in. But I don't know if it would actually be the same for the current generation, like the Gen Zs, and how they would view that now because of all of the connectivity and everything being so fast. And did they even actually know what they felt like because of all that information that's being poured into them? Were they your feelings? Or was it because that's what everybody else was saying? I don't know. Food for thought, I guess. But I have a teenager, so I mean, he's not as angsty as I was. He is homeschooled, so he doesn't have to deal with all the other baloney that I had to deal with. There are downfalls to that. He is a very clingy kid. I know that he depends on me a lot more than I think a 16-year-old who isn't homeschooled or isn't consistently home with his mom. And I know I probably baby him a little bit, and I apologize. I'm sorry, Bryce. I'm sorry. I'm horrible. But believe me, he has his moments, and he gets angry at stupid little things, which is what teenagers do, and I expect that. I will tell him that he's being irrational, but it doesn't matter, and I know. I will give him concessions for it. I will still get angry back at him, but... and I will tell him, I'm like, you do not talk to me like that. I am your mother. But at the same time, and then I had to walk out of the room, kind of laugh. I'm like, yeah, I know the feeling, man. But he's definitely not as bad as I was. I had really bad mood swings. Being a girl, I think that also kind of, that is also on top of it. So I'm not saying one is worse than the other, but having your time of the month as well as going through teenagerdom is just a freaking nightmare. So, yeah, I had really bad mood swings, really bad. And, I can't say that I don't have mood swings now, but, not like the way they were. And I would get horrible migraines as well. So I'm, knock on wood, I'm pretty good right now. So trying to remain serene and chill. It's difficult. But I highly suggest that if you have a teenager, if you are a teenager and you're listening to this, because maybe you are cool with the 80s and 90s and wanting to hear my ridiculousness talking, and you're going through some moments of emotionalness and trauma or whatever you want to, trauma or drama, write it down. You know how I don't know if anybody's ever said this now, but if they say when you're angry and you want to get it out, they tell you to write it down on a piece of toilet paper and then flush it down the toilet to just get it out. It's kind of the same concept. And if nobody ever says it to you, write it down on a piece of toilet paper and flush it down the toilet if that's what you want to do. But writing your emotions, even if it doesn't make sense, writing down how you're feeling, why you're feeling, like what has happened before that made you feel this way. You don't even have to know why it makes you feel that way. You just write, this happened, this is how I feel. And then if you go back and you like analyze it later when you're calm and collected, even if it's like 2 years later or 5 years later or when you're in middle age, you can analyze that and you can say, you know what, here's a correlation to what made me this way and what made, what I was cool with thereafter. I look at it now and it's just like, I've actually only just made the correlation while I was talking to you, how alone I was and how isolated just by the titles of my poems. Journaling is good. You don't have to go into poetry writing. I'm not saying that, but just write it down. I think it's the best medicine that you could possibly do. And talk to people if you can, if you have somebody to talk to. I had my mom. If you don't have your parents, if you have a best friend, there are friends, there are best friends, and there are like these friends that are your friends, but they also don't help. I hope you would be able to differentiate. But when you're talking about something as deep and as dark as an angsty teen emotion, you need to have somebody who's there, who understands, that you don't even need to get their opinion. You could just have somebody there as a sounding board, that you're just like flowing it all out there. And I think that's why when we are, as we are, our Gen Ys are so nostalgic, is because there was a lot more one-on-one talking. Not like through a text message, not through a DM, not through a TikTok video, not through Snapchat. It was a face-to-face majority of the time, or over the telephone. And I think that connection isn't there as much. So maybe the kids aren't seeing the connection of people who they can talk to. I don't know. That's just my opinion. And you can take that for whatever it's worth. It's really not worth much of anything. But, so yeah, I hope you enjoyed this live. I'm only going to be doing 2 other ones. One of them will be with my son, who's going to be in witness protection, quote unquote, so you won't see him. But the next one I have already recorded, and that's going to be about 90s fantasy movies. So check that out next Monday. This episode will be up on my website. If you missed this live, will be up on the website tomorrow. I have to, I gotta to get the recording. I've got to take out the audio and I've got to edit it. Well, I'm not going to edit it because this was live. I'm just going to leave it as messed up sounding as it was. The only thing I will edit is I did have the recording that it does have has the first half hour of me leaving it sitting there. So I could just press go live because I'm ready for this. And I just have to press a button. And I'm wearing my Pac-Man shirt to, Oh, right. That's the other thing. I got, I don't know if anybody remembers this. And if you're listening to the podcast, I have, and I'll take a picture of it, a Pac-Man 2 handheld 2-player Pac-Man game. And it's from 1981. That's the date that it came out. However, I played this when I was little. So this is an 80s thing, not so much a 90s, not teenage angsty, but I did find this. It was at a toy, it was at a, it's like a toy store, but it was an everything type of store, but I saw it underneath this Tiger Electronics thing, the thing was a basketball thing, and I'm like, oh my God. And my son's with me, and I'm like, Bryce, I think that's it. And he's like, what? And I'm like, I think that's the Pac-Man game that I've been looking for. Because I had it. I don't know where it was. I don't know where it went. But let's see if I can turn this on. So the up arrow doesn't work very well. But this was my jam back then. I played this all the time. Sitting on the sofa, I think there's a picture of me playing it, or at least there's a picture of it sitting on the end table. But I'm so happy to have found this. Pac-Man 2, 2-player. The second player is actually plays the ghost. So you're trying to, if you're Pac-Man, trying to get away from it. If you're the ghost, you're trying to get Pac-Man, blah, blah, blah. So, or you can just do one player and just play your traditional Pac-Man. But, yeah. I meant to, I was like, oh my God, I got to show you. It's like show and tell. Oh, that should be something to talk about. I actually hated show and tell. And the reason being is because having to stand up in front of people. But otherwise, I thought it was cool what people would bring in. And for the most part, anything that was my dad's was fascinating to me. And I don't know if it was fascinating to the other people because my dad was in World War II. He was older. He had all this information, all this stuff, all this old things. And I'm like, I want to show everything because it's history. But no one really, I don't know if anybody really cared. But I thought it was interesting. So there. Well, thank you so much for joining me. If you did join me. If not, I will have this up tomorrow at the latest Wednesday. I've got a lot of stuff going on this week. I was having like a breakdown earlier. Like there's just so much going on. But anyway, I'm good. So thank you so much for joining me on my first live. This is not going to be a constant. I think I like recording it like a regular podcast. But, having this sprinkled in here and there, I thought that would be a different thing. All this setup is a pain in my butt, so I like being able to just sit and record, and it doesn't matter what time of day, it doesn't matter if the dogs are barking, because I can just stop, and then I can be like, shut the F up, and then edit it out later. So, but this is cool, it's something. And it's better when it's live when you have like a back and forth with someone. That's why I think when I have my son on, it would be a nice back and forth, and it would be more interesting than just me. This is like a vlog rather than a podcast, but this will be uploaded. So I hope you enjoyed my teenage angstiness when I was younger and my ridiculous way of writing things in 1999. So thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you all. Check out my blog. Check out this podcast on www.gabriellecataldi.com. It's linked in the description below. Please like and subscribe. I will be doing other vlogs once I get that up to date. Otherwise, these podcasts will also, I'm going to upload my other podcast onto here. And I just have to do a picture that will sit for however long the podcast is. So it's just, that's simple. But otherwise, thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed this, the diary episode 2, and I have 3 already done. Yay. Yay for me. Well, have a good night. Thank you for joining me, and I'm going to go sit in the living room now and probably play the PlayStation. I don't know what, though. Okay. Have a good night, and this is Gabrielle with That 80s Child, the Generation Y. Have a good evening. Bye.